So the past couple days for Modern Warfare 2 have been pretty interesting. Twitter has had a lot to say about the state of the game. And what's interesting about Modern Warfare 2 is many people's complaints and issues right now have nothing to do with the actual core gameplay itself, which, for a AAA title in the year of our Lord 2022 is pretty unexpected. The biggest problem right now that people seem to be mauling over on Twitter is skill-based matchmaking. And this seems to be the one thing that people claim is preventing them from enjoying Modern Warfare 2 as much as they could, and for the full release of the game, this is speculated to be the biggest upcoming problem, let's say. So today I want to talk about the hard truth of Call of Duty, and why, unfortunately, a lot of the presented potential solutions for the problem of skill-based matchmaking I really don't think are going to work in Call of Duty, but I do believe I have somewhat of an unpopular opinion when it comes to this entire skill-based matchmaking situation, and I've talked about, bits and pieces of this before, but it's gotten so prevalent right now where it seems like this is the only thing that's on my Twitter feed that I felt like I wanted to make a full video about this. I'm going to try to make my argument as clear and concise as possible, and let me be, super clear as well. You don't have to agree with me on this stuff. The very least you could do is just hear me out. And it's just a little bit unfortunate because I think that the community all at the end of the day wants what's best for the game. If we can start there and, maybe we disagree on solutions, that's fine, but at least allow me the good faith to know that I want what's best for the game as much as you do. So as anything is important to get right, we need to get our definition straight first and foremost. SBMM, or skill-based matchmaking, is the concept where the game will put you with players in your lobby roughly around your same skill level. And this basically means that if you are a good player, let's say, it's going to put you against primarily other good players or people who, are around the same skill bracket as you. And it's not like skill-based matchmaking is some nebulous concept that we can't really prove. Like Infinity Ward and basically every other studio and Activision have told us flat out skill-based matchmaking does exist. It's real. It exists in various forms, we'll say, but it's pretty much been in Call of Duty forever. Like, this isn't a brand new thing, but it's becoming more and more of an issue for people as time goes on. But I don't think that's necessarily a result of skill-based matchmaking, and I'll get to that in a second. But the biggest pushback against skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty is that it takes away a lot of the casual fun that COD's been known for. Like, people trying way too hard, like there's money online and in public matches and stuff. What it also means is when it plays or when it pairs you up with people that are your skill level, they're likely to use the same weapons as you, and this can take away a lot from the sandbox experimentation, using different weapons and trying out fun setups. Everybody's using the meta and wants to try hard that way. People have also claimed that skill-based matchmaking tends to prioritize player skill over lobby connection, and I don't think that argument has too much weight. There's been some instances and maybe which that holds a little bit of truth, but for the most part, connection is always prioritized. I think we can prove that literally as well. And especially in Modern Warfare 2, if skill-based matchmaking is truly in effect, it certainly isn't prioritizing skill over connection, because connections, compared to other Call of Duty games, have been really good in Modern Warfare 2. Let's just call it what it is. They've been great. And I think this is what leads a lot of people to believe that skill-based matchmaking, just as a pure theory, is flawed and something that's inherently negative. But I'm going to make the argument, or at least think about it this way just for a second and entertain me, that skill-based matchmaking as a concept isn't the issue to blame. Let's go back to the most basic definition of skill-based matchmaking. It's, again, the system in which a game will pair you up against players your skill level. Just flat out, basically, the most bare bones terms, that's what skill-based matchmaking is. Then the follow-up question to that would be, are there games in which skill-based matchmaking as a system is actually preferred? And the answer to that is yes. Now, why? Well, first of all, think about, why is Call of Duty fun to you? Think about it for a second. 99% of us, Call of Duty is fun because getting kills and getting kill streaks in this game is very satisfying. Obviously, that's not what it's all about, but for the most part, the core gameplay loop of Call of Duty is just centered around getting kills and rewarding you thus with kill streaks. That is literally what set it apart as a FPS at the time, and the existence of the kill streak system itself should be evidence to that fact. That's what Call of Duty gameplay is built on. I just want you to think about where the enjoyment and the fun is to be derived from in a game, and in Call of Duty, just when you're looking at the just sheer gameplay, you can boil it down to getting kills and kill streaks is literally the essence of this game, and that's why it's fun, essentially. And this means Call of Duty lobbies are optimal when you've got like a big randomized bunch of like good and bad players, right? Like I think we can all pretty much agree to that concept as well. And skill-based matchmaking is presented as the idea where it roughly groups you up in people your skill level, thus making kill streaks maybe harder to come by. But just hold all that in your mind for a second. I want to compare this game to a game that I play a lot of where skill-based matchmaking is actually preferred. Clearly, SBMM isn't preferred in Call of Duty, but let's look at something like Smash, for example. And you might think, hey, this is kind of out of left field. Why are you bringing up Smash? It's a totally different game. And yes, you would be right. I always say Smash is the exact opposite to Call of Duty when it comes to its approach for matchmaking, where SBMM in this game is preferred like in every case because the game is boring without it. In fact, I remember on Twitter like 2 years ago, there was a COD Pro and a Smash Pro disagreeing about skill-based matchmaking, and I think they were both missing the point because the games that they play respectively are two totally different kinds of games. So, the theory was like skill-based matchmaking sucks for Call of Duty players. That's true. Skill-based matchmaking is preferred in Smash. That's because where the fun is derived from is totally different. Again, we established the fun for the most part in Call of Duty is derived, when you're doing well, you're getting kills, kill streaks, that kind of thing. In Smash, the fun is derived from the dance of the game. If you've never played like high-level Smash or really or even like chess, something like that is also very comparable. The game is the most fun when you're challenged optimally. Because this game's satisfaction is derived from like reading and reacting to like your opponent's patterns and stuff and just like learning how they play as an individual. And, it's kind of like literally, it's kind of a dance. And that is where the fun comes from. Of course, it's more satisfying to win. But again, you can still get your ass whooped in this game and have a great time. That is not true in Call of Duty. And in fact, it feels satisfying to sweat in Smash because the enjoyment is derived from a totally different place. Whereas as it feels kind of exhausting to sweat all the time in Call of Duty. I think we can all pretty much agree to that as well. So in that Twitter argument I was showing you, I would say that both the Smash Pro and the COD Pro were both correct. It's just they were arguing about two totally different definitions, essentially. What it comes down to is the nature of the game and why that game is fun. And you can see where when skill-based matchmaking is overlaid on Call of Duty, because its core gameplay is essentially boiled down to, what we described, that is almost a contradiction in a sense. Now, in general, I think the COD community would say that, hey, maybe a little bit of skill-based matchmaking is fine. It's necessary to keep, like, the actual, like, legitimately disabled gamers and, people that are extremely low skill. They should still deserve to enjoy the game, too, and should play against people, that aren't going to completely stomp them out. That is absolutely fair enough, and I agree with that. However, and I think most people would say, a little bit of that is fine, but, as SBMM gets stricter is when it becomes a problem. This is where I think we can't really prove it, but I don't think skill-based matchmaking has necessarily gotten much stricter than it has been. But what I do think has happened is the average skill floor of the COD community has gone up. Like, I'm just going to be, rough estimating here, but take a look at this graph. This is basically the point I'm going to make. I think the distribution of player skill back in something like 2012 probably looked something like this. Like, you've got, an absolute potato on one end, and you have then an unkillable AI robot on the complete other end. And, the average skill for most players probably falls somewhere here in the middle, and that's where most of the distribution is. However, as people have gotten better at Call of Duty over the years, in 2022, that distribution probably looks something a little bit more like this. Like, people in general have gotten better, and that has raised the distribution to the higher end. So my take on that, it's not that skill-based matchmaking has gotten stricter, it's that there are less bad players to even pick from to begin with. And the bad players that it does pick from are much better bad players than, say, like, bad players from 2012 or something. Now, a lot of folks have been presenting what they believe to be the magic bullet solution to all of this, and again, I think the sentiment of it is nice, but I think it falls apart under scrutiny. People have been claiming all over my Twitter feed and just in general in the community, like, hey, Call of Duty now needs a casual playlist and a ranked playlist where the people who want to play ranked can go sweat, earn rank, that kind of thing, and then casual is what it says on the box. It's a more casual COD experience, and I think in theory, all of that should work, just on a totally surface level, you would think that would work, but let's think that through a little bit. So I'm not convinced that people would actually play any different in a ranked mode versus a casual mode. When we think about Call of Duty's like core mechanics, the game, if we're being honest with ourselves, isn't all that hard, and people are going to play the exact same amount of sweaty, let's say, in either casual or ranked. And also, think about it this way, when people want to, occasionally you want to go in and pub stomp, get big streaks and stuff, those kinds of players that want to go in and pub stomp and dominate, they're all going to come to casual, thus sort of making the casual playlist in this hypothetical world just as sweaty, if not more sweaty, than the ranked mode. Like, if Modern Warfare 2 did this, it's not like you would have this magical world of casual where you can go in and it's like this, not sweaty experience. People are trying new things and stuff. That might exist to a small degree, but it's not it wouldn't be what you think it is in your mind. Ranked and casual would play almost identical. I can almost guarantee that. Now, I will say this, I do think having a proper ranked mode is at least a band-aid solution to all of this. It is by no means a total fix, but it's at least something. But I really do think just separating a casual and ranked playlist is not the magic bullet everybody makes it out to be. Like I said, people are still going to play the exact same way in casual versus ranked, because the same player is not going to like play with less reaction time and like slower and with less mechanical skill, whether he's playing ranked or casual. You know what I mean? The way that players interact with the game is going to be pretty much the same regardless of ranked or casual. The only difference really, probably ranked would have more team cohesion and stuff, like people would be rolling in packs more versus maybe more solo casual play, but still, that would be the only difference. So as much of a nice idea I think it is to have a casual and ranked mode, and that would just somehow magically fix Call of Duty, I just don't think it's practical. I truly don't think that would even work. So this leaves us in an awkward position, because it's like, okay, what is the solution then? Is there a solution for Call of Duty and all this skill-based matchmaking stuff? Now, here's my opinion. Again, you don't have to agree with it, but because Call of Duty has remained largely the same game for, at least the past decade, the player distribution, like I said, has gone up. People have just gotten better at the game. The only solution to making the game feel less sweaty and to make skill-based matchmaking, you can't completely knock it out for reasons we just discussed, but it's not like it's really gotten any stricter either. The only solution, I think, is to make Call of Duty a harder game. That is the only thing that would stretch out that player skill distribution again to make it not so like front heavy. You know what I mean? That is the only thing I can think of, but we have to consider, if Call of Duty became somehow a much harder game, would it even be COD anymore? Would it still have the same wide appeal as it does now? That is up for debate, and that's something we're not going to get into, but to me, I feel like, other than that, I'm not going to pretend like I have a solution to this, but the solutions that are being presented right now, I appreciate them for coming out and being a thing, but I do think all of them are fundamentally flawed. Like, there's no easy fix to this, sadly. But yeah, I've been seeing a ton of just like, frustration with skill-based matchmaking in this game. And again, I really think it's valid in Call of Duty. I'm not defending it. I don't think skill-based matchmaking is a fun system in this game for the reason I just explained in this whole video. I would prefer for it to be maybe non-existent, but just at least, very, very loose, if we can put it in those terms. But even so, that still wouldn't totally resolve the fact that most players have just gotten a lot better at the game. So even if skill-based matchmaking is looser, the players that it's still gonna, match you up with are still going to be better, and the game is going to feel more sweaty regardless of the bracket you're in, we'll say. So I brought all this up to say, yeah, skill-based matchmaking is an issue in this game, but I think your frustration is being directed to the wrong place, basically. And that at the end of the day, this is just a hard problem to solve, man. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have all the solutions to this. I don't think really anybody does, and that's why it's an issue. But yeah, I just wanted to give my take on it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.